Hello out there, Ethos GSFM, friends and family, Instagram, YouTube, whatever platform you are watching this from right now. We are joining you again today with a very special guest, Dr. Raj Singla, oncologist at Jefferson University or Jefferson Hospital, if I'm correct. And he is joining us today to discuss the recent passing of Chadwick Boseman, aka the Black Panther, and we want to welcome in Dr. Raj. Hey, Dr. Raj, how's it going, man?
First off, thank you for having me back again, and hope you guys are doing well. It's a difficult and sad time, obviously. I know personally admire Chadwick Boseman, and both in terms of his talent as well as intentionally choosing so many fantastic projects and portraying so many heroes, not just one superhero but others in terms of Jackie Robinson, et cetera, et cetera. So I was shocked, as pretty much everybody else was. Also incredible to think that he was able to do so much while sort of battling this disease.
Yeah, it's definitely quite an adjustment for people to make. I mean, he touched a lot of people's lives, old and young, from 8 to 80. Just to get right into it, the first question that I have for you, how do you feel the recent passing of Chadwick Boseman has affected people and the way we view cancer?
Yeah, I think when we typically see TV or movies or in terms of our own lives and how they've been touched by, I don't think there's a single person among us who doesn't have a friend, a family member, or somebody who's had some form of cancer, even if it was, something pretty small, a polyp or something here and there that was removed, or a small skin cancer. This is unusual in a few ways. Number one, his age in terms of his youth, being in his early 40s and having this illness. I think number two is something that, what struck, I think, a lot of people is the fact that, you hear this phrase thrown around a lot, he didn't look sick, right? People will say things like that. The fact that he could star in this huge Hollywood blockbuster film, be in the shape he was portraying this larger than life superhero, and at the same time have this serious terminal illness. I think this is something that is difficult for most people in physicians to kind of square these two things together, to have this condition and yet to look fine. Didn't lose his hair, was maintaining weight and everything. I know towards the end, he was deleting photos from social media. Unfortunately, he again wanted his privacy. He didn't want to disclose this to everybody. But people were, wondering, was he losing weight for a role? And what was going on? And I think this changes things in terms of, again, his youth, his profile, and sort of his physical appearance while dealing with this.
Those are, I guess, you would say, some of the misconceptions that people have about cancer is that, you're supposed to look a certain way when you have cancer. And it's important. I think it leads to the fact that it's important to, have compassion for people and, just to really understand that, you might not really know what's going on the inside or, what's going on in somebody's personal life. So great point, Raj. The next question that I have for you is exactly what type of cancer did he pass away from?
Yes, so Chadwick Boseman, based on reports, had colon cancer. So he had developed cancer of the colon or large intestine. It appears that he developed this a couple of years back. So when this was initially diagnosed, it was fairly advanced, but thought to potentially be curable. So he would have undergone surgery to remove the portion of the colon. Usually they'll remove the entire right half or left half, depending on the location of the tumor, because of the blood supply and risk of spread and other things. So they'll do that. They'll see any lymph glands that are included in there that there might be sort of tumor deposits in. And in his case, it sounds like there was evidence that cancer had already made its way into some of the lymph glands in that area. Following that type of diagnosis, in order to lower the risk, because we know that if we take 100 people and who go through surgery for this type of cancer, not all 100 people are going to be cured. from surgery alone, you're going to have a significant number of people where their cancer is going to come back down the road, months, years later down the road. So in that situation, anybody who has, that type of disease is going to undergo chemotherapy, again, in his particular case. So people are saying stage 3 colon cancer and it progressed to stage 4. These stages and these numbers and everything are quite complex and difficult to understand, and it varies from cancer to cancer. So there's no one size fits all, and people will say, if I say, well, Sean, explain that to me, what is stage 2 cancer? Most people are going to say, oh, it's worse than stage 1, but better than stage 3, I guess. Because everybody, it's a thing that people feel like they need to, people talk about this stuff, but it's different. Some cancers don't have 4 stages.
Right.
Some cancers, for example, Lance Armstrong had testicular cancer, and that was involving his brain and his lungs, and yet he's alive today. He was cured of that.
Yeah.
So when people kind of equate sometimes stage 4 with incurable, or that it's really bad, or other things, it really depends more about the disease itself rather than these stages. So that can oftentimes be a distraction. So all that means is that he had probably a colon cancer where there were lymph glands that had tumor in them, meaning that he's at a high risk for this recurring in the future. So he would have gotten surgery followed by chemotherapy to lower the risk of it coming back in the future. And it seems like despite that, this did come back somewhere outside of the colon, not where it started, but somewhere else. And when that happens, that is considered to not be curable anymore at that point. So in the case of colon cancer, or intestinal cancer, stage 4 disease does imply that this is no longer curable, that this is a terminal condition. And if somebody is diagnosed with stage 4 or metastatic, meaning that it's spread to the liver, the abdomen, other areas outside of the intestine, the average life expectancy is around 2 years or maybe a little bit over that, once it has been detected that it's spread outside of the colon.
Rough thing, my father just recently just passed away from cancer last December. He had a GIST tumor on his liver that, they took it out, came back, took it out, came back. And he was a fighter. He fought 11 years. Kind of brings me to my next question, which is, how often do you think people should just go and get a checkup?
So excellent question. I'll answer that in 2 parts. So cancers in general, again, it's not one disease. It's a lot of different diseases. Just like if I say food, a steak and a Brussels sprout are not even remotely similar to each other, and yet we call them all food. And the same thing goes for cancer. There's a lot of different types. Even 2 types of lung cancer, 2 types of breast cancer can be worlds apart from one another in their prognosis, their treatment, etc. So in general, some signs to look out for any type of cancer would be if somebody's losing weight without trying to. We know how difficult it is to lose weight. You just have to turn on your television at 3 a.m. and you're going to see tons of ads. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry in terms of, all these different things. So if you lose 15, 20 pounds without trying to, there can be other explanations. People can be stressed out, can have all sorts of different issues, digestive problems, but that's a warning sign for sure. Unexplained, I tell people that in general, kind of 2 keys to look out for: progressive and persistent. Everybody has aches and pains being a human being, but if you have pain in your back and it doesn't go away after a couple days or a week or so, and if it gets worse over time, instead of being every 2-3 days, now it's just constant, and then it used to be a 2 out of 10, now it's a 6, because tumors don't disappear on their own. They don't just pack up one day and leave without you doing something about it. So cancer's not going to let you off the hook. If you have a problem, you really just need to listen to your body. I always tell my patients, nobody knows your body better than you do. You're an expert on you, and I might be an expert on cancer, but you're an expert on you. Yeah. So the idea is listen to your body, look for different changes and things like that. When it comes to colon cancer, which is one of the top 5 most common forms of cancer, things to look out for are blood in the stool, change in the caliber in terms of how the stools sort of appear. Sometimes they can be, if you have a mass in there that's blocking the colon, They can come out looking very thin, almost like pencil thin. Feeling like you haven't completely emptied yourself. These can all be signs that somebody might have a tumor causing a blockage, a plumbing problem. As far as screening and other things, as you had asked about sort of seeing a medical professional, it's a good idea for folks to make sure that they're going to see their physician. That saying, an ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure, is right on the money. So the idea is, if you keep yourself healthy, you wouldn't drive a car for 20 years and never take it to a mechanic, and yet people will brag and say, oh, I've never been to a doctor in my life, I'm completely healthy. Same way, you take care of your clothes, you take care of your hair and your grooming, you take care of your vehicle. This is your vehicle. You got to take care of your body, for sure. So regular checkups, preventative health maintenance. There are some cancers that we can screen for, and we have really good tools. Mammograms save lives, colonoscopies save lives. So these